My name's Matt, and I'm a drug addict.
Yeah. Thanks, bro. How'd you get here?
I guess that story kind of starts whenever I was a teenager. Um, I started smoking and drinking, smoking weed and drinking whenever I was like probably 13 or 14. At that point in my life, I was really just doing it because it was a new thing and I was curious about it, and I had some friends that were doing it. Um, Once I did it, I realized that I'd never felt that way before. Not just in the intoxicating way, but like I was able to relax. I wasn't stressed out. I wasn't anxious. I mean, as a 14-year-old kid, I didn't have that many things to be stressed about. But I was already kind of battling with some depression. Um, so that goes on for a couple years, and it was just I was doing it because I liked the effect of it. So that went on all the way through high school. I was already like abusing and binging on, I began doing pills whenever I was in high school, and I was just trying to see how, messed up I could get. So, and it was really just for fun at that point.
Like the cool thing to do.
Yeah, I guess. At that time, I thought so. Um,
Did any of your identity was up in it? Like that's what Matt was known for.
Definitely. Uh, Me and my whole group of friends at the time, really, we were always going to parties, the wild ones, I guess you could say. Um, so fast forward a little bit to near my 18th birthday. Um, 2 days before my 18th birthday, my papaw died, my mom's dad. So
You all really close?
yeah, we were extremely close. He was like, in my opinion, he was one of the greatest people I've ever met, probably the greatest person I've ever met. He was like my role model, my hero, all those things. So in the time after that is probably the first time in my life that I wasn't getting fucked up for fun.
Yeah, good.
I was doing it because I was depressed and angry, and I didn't like the way that I felt inside, and I just really didn't know what to do, how to deal with it, and that was the solution that I came up with. I was able to just, I don't know, numb my emotions and, just keep on going and doing things that I thought I needed to do.
What were you angry about?
I guess at the time I was angry at God, and I didn't understand why a person, as great as he was, had to die in the way that he died with through cancer. Um, and it was 2 days before my 18th birthday, and
So you made it about you.
I made it about me, definitely. And because I remember praying like, oh, just let, because it was my senior year of high school, I was like, please let Poppy like live to my 18th birthday, or like I was making up these like milestones in my head that I was praying for him to live through. Um, so like I said, after that, I was, you know, using drugs and drinking for like a specific purpose other than just for fun. And then the year after that, my dad's dad passed away. So it was just more of the same. And then 2 years to the day, 2 days before my 20th birthday, my great grandmother passed away. And she lived on the same road I did growing up. So we were also, really close. And it was more of the same. I had made that about me too.
Were these like the first real deaths that you had experienced in your life?
Um, of people that close, but I guess I can go back to high school. I had like three close friends of mine pass away in car wrecks. So
It's like this time of coming of age, and then also losing. So like death is such a in the way that a lot of us think about it. It's like very final, So it's like this. To me, it sounds. It could be wrong, but like this coming up against what life is, what it really looks like. It's kind of scary.
yeah, yeah,
That
definitely.
made me depressed.
Yeah, I was very depressed, man. Like, and I was kind of always like from my adolescence and teenage years on, I was already like a pretty angry kid. Uh, I had like two of the best parents a person could ask for growing up, and I never wanted or never needed for a thing in my life. They took care of everything like that, um, and I guess that made me entitled. So like
Everything's going to be all right, always.
Always, yeah. And then like suddenly, my world was like kind of shattered, and I didn't know which way to turn. So like drugs and alcohol that was where I turned.
Nice. Same.
Yeah. But speaking of my parents, like they've always had like really high expectations of me. And I guess that created a fear of like not being good enough. So, and I wanted to fit in all the time. So the people that I grew up with, like I had the same friend group for a long time, from like elementary school, middle school, high school, and even after high school for a period of time. And that's what they were all doing. And that's what I was doing too,
Yeah.
I guess the first time that it started really negatively impacting me was whenever I was in college at MTSU, because it was just more important to me
In school.
than school. Yeah, I mean, I still managed to graduate, but like it was a total shit show the whole way through. I was barely ever went to class, and then I started using different drugs for very specific purposes. Like I would do like benzos because I was anxious, and hell, that's because I was putting everything off to the last minute. And then I would use like Adderall for 2 days before tests, and I would just binge on homework for 2 days, and it was just constantly like, I don't know.
It's not sustainable.
No, it was not sustainable. I mean, I managed to sustain it through college, but it was
on a long enough timeline, obviously.
Yeah, it was not easy.
It's strange how like one of my biggest fears or like your biggest fears you talked about was like not being good enough. Yet you found that the drugs in some way enabled you to walk through that fear and obviously not be good enough.
Yeah, you're totally right. Like, I developed like, I didn't really realize it at the time that it was resentments, but I developed like severe resentments towards like my dad, and mostly my dad, because he always like, he was quick to point out whenever he thought I was slacking, and now I thank God for that. But at the time, like, I was so angry. It just made me more angry. Like I was miserable all the time. And like you were touching on, like I had this fear of not being good enough, but instead of like acting on that, like you were saying, I just did things that made it that much harder to be good enough. And then, I was selfish to the core. So, I mean, I'm blaming other people for the mistakes that not at the time it wasn't clear to me, but, now it's became clear to me that, I was making my own life so much harder than it had to be. I had pending felony marijuana charges when I graduated, but I graduated,
It's an accomplishment.
Yeah. But those decisions that I made after graduation, it made it, it was reduced to a misdemeanor, but still, like, I gotten arrested multiple times for, public intoxication, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, because I was just drinking to blackout points and acting a fool. So after that, it made it really difficult to use my degree, because here I have all these arrests.
What's your degree in?
Mechanical engineering technology.
So it's difficult to get a job, or it was.
It still is, It feels nearly impossible sometimes. But yeah, it kind of brings me to the next point. Like, so the few years after college, like, I was already drinking, multiple times a week. I was smoking weed daily. I was doing pills as often as I could. So I'm trying to get a job with my degree, and I went to so many different interviews for positions with my degree, and I never got them. So it was just compounding on that feeling of me not being good enough, and it created a lot of guilt, and which turned into shame. And then it wasn't that I thought I wasn't going to be good enough; it's I knew I wasn't good enough. So I kind of started to lose sight of things. But I managed to get a pretty good job at a place in Johnson City that was with my degree. and that's around the time that like I started doing cocaine. So like.